Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of October 23rd, 2016. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. Early in the week, it is really all about Venus, goddess of love, is going to be having some interesting conversations, mainly with Jupiter and Neptune. Now, both of these planets have to do with hope, have to do with wishes, have to do with aspiration, and it has to do with wanting the best, wanting it enough to only see the best. Well, the type of conversations Venus is going to be having with Neptune is one that is of tension. But with Jupiter, it is a harmonious conversation. It's one that is ultimately meant to empower. As I look at this particular configuration, it does suggest that some of us out there may have to have a little bit of a reality check, may have to look at where it is that our expectations in love and relationships are reasonable and where maybe not as much. Where it is that not only our expectations, but how we are viewing a person or a situation, where it is that it is fair to them and to us, and where it is that it might not be. Where it is that we've allowed ourselves to get very carried away without necessarily a lot of evidence, and where it is now that we can understand that ultimately what we are truly going for is love, is connection, and is the kind of love ultimately that lifts you and lifts us up in our individual journeys, and of course as a collective as well. It's a very universal human experience to want to have that sense of connection with others. So as I look at this particular conversation, I just want you to be mindful out there, all those of you out there who are, interested in somebody or looking towards somebody with some hope and some anticipation. It's always a beautiful thing. It's beautiful to have hope. And the great thing is that whatever transpires, there is that measure of empowerment in it, thanks to that harmonious connection with Jupiter. But at the same time, being willing to acknowledge where maybe there's been some disappointment, whether in the past or whether in a current situation, could go a really long way in helping to empower you. Now, one thing I do want to say with this energy, it's not likely, but especially when I look at Venus and Neptune speaking in this way, it is possible for some of us out there that the desire to not just get carried away necessarily, but I look at this as the desire for escape or escapism and the different ways that we do that. That may be particularly strong, especially in the early part of the week. It may not necessarily be achievable as well. And so it's important here not to overdo it. It's important here if you are out and about, you're enjoying yourself, just watch the alcohol a little bit, right? And anything else that may be used to alter states of consciousness, right? Including lack of sleep. I really know that one. If there's lack of sleep that alters state of consciousness, or whatever it is that maybe doesn't necessarily put you in touch with all of your rational senses and rational decision-making senses, it may be good to ease up on that a little bit, particularly in the early part of the week. The temptation will be there to dive in and to go on a little bit of a ride of consciousness, if you will. But not only is it probably not going to work, but also chances are decisions made during that time are ones that you're not going to feel good about in the fullness of time, and the fullness of time being the next day, the next morning, 24 hours later. And so it's always good to make conscious choices, right? That's always a good thing. Sometimes it's more possible than others, but it is important with this particular sky to be a little bit careful. And that to me is especially emphasized, this need for care, because as we move towards the later part of the week, we are going to have Mars speaking with Uranus. Now, this type of conversation happens twice every 2 years, generally speaking. Twice every 2 years or so, Mars has this kind of conversation with Uranus. It is a conversation of tension. It's a conversation of surprise that denotes some surprise, and those surprises really can come out of nowhere. And it is an awakening as well. And so things can go in a very unexpected direction with this particular energy. So again, the way that you balance energy like this is by rooting it in conscious decisions, conscious decision making. And given the fact that some of us may be more inclined towards daydreaming or letting ourselves be carried away in dreamy directions, and at the same time very quickly being brought back to the present in a snap, it is important with this energy to try your best to balance that, to try your best, especially if you're doing something where you really need to be as present as possible, like driving, like operating heavy machinery, or otherwise, right? Maybe not something as intensive, but even so, there are definitely times when consciously knowing that being as present as possible is only going to work to your advantage. To understand that those moments and to distinguish those moments and strive for that sense of clarity, that can go a really long way with this. So grounding a lot of that unexpected energy, it tends to be negated a lot if you ground it in rational thinking, rational thought, and using our full faculties. That can go a really long way with this energy. So again, this is very surprise, and in some cases surprise out of nowhere. Now you add the fact that right around the time of this rare conversation between Mars and Uranus, we're also going to have the sun meeting Mercury in the sky. So again, this is where you want to ground yourself. The awareness, the self-knowledge comes when you connect to intellect, when you connect to mind. And I would even say with this energy, you know, people will often give themselves away. Very famous quote by Maya Angelou is, when people show you who they are, believe them. Well, with this given energy, it can be like almost like a snap, like coming out of a daydream, where some of our expectations about the people who surround us are very ideal. And then they say something very slight, something very small, or you have a particular conversation and you realize, okay, this is where they're showing me who they are. And the realization could come up much by surprise, could come up very suddenly, but when it does, believe them. When it does, trust your perceptions. That really is key to navigating this time that much better. And finally this week, we have Mercury going into the sign of Scorpio. Early in the week, Mercury will move into the sign of Scorpio. That makes us really love a good mystery, and especially where it comes to what's happening on a level of what we're talking about as a collective, what's happening on a level of media. This is a really good investigative journalism coming forward, being prized, and we can expect Scorpio is the sign of secrets that are consciously kept, and this absolutely can be a time when secrets are revealed, particularly of public people, public figures, and revealed in a very public kind of way. So there's an element here that of course has to do with truth, and there's that clarity element as well. Remember, the Sun and Mercury are going to meet this week as well. So there's a lot of clarity as a result of what comes forward now and the things that we are discussing as a collective. But what I always think of when Mercury goes into Scorpio, this is, you know, the patient, very persistent type of investigation that ends up reaping some results that really help us to understand ourselves and our world and each other very differently. It's looking at what otherwise we may not necessarily want to look at, but ultimately ends up being just the thing that we need to face ourselves, right? And to face this world that we have created. And as a result of that, decide what it is that we want to do next to move towards the world that we truly desire to live in. Well, thank you so much for watching the introduction. I'm truly so grateful for it. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, thumbs up. It does mean so much. Thank you to everybody out there who joined me in Southern California. Met lots of friends and fans out there. Got lots of hugs. It was really very exciting. Shared a lot of that journey on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram, Nadiya_Shah. That's at Nadiya_Shah. So mainly I shared that journey on Instagram, and it's been a lot of fun interacting with friends and fans online and in person. In person was a really, really big deal to me. It really did mean so much. Signing books and getting to know people out there. It was a wonderful part of this past week. And now I'm settling in a little bit again before I have to head out. As I've mentioned before, I am on a little bit of a world tour right now, and I'll be announcing upcoming dates very soon. So please do stay in touch, of course, and check out the events page on my website. Classes are resuming. Yes, Saturday. So the Saturday that this is likely going to be published on Saturday, we're going to be coming back to class as part of bringing Synchronicity University to real time. If you can join us in person, that's awesome. If not, you can download the class afterwards. You can purchase the download for previous classes, for classes that took place in August. Lots of people appreciating the downloads. And experience it all over again, or experience it for the first time through the video recording or audio recording if you prefer. And so this Saturday, when this is going to be published, the class is on solar returns. So solar returns look at a specific technique that's called birthday to birthday. So it's basically looking at some of the key themes that are likely to come up in this particular year of your life, starting on your birthday, and identifying certain trigger moments when those key themes are likely to come up very much into your awareness and are going to speak to how things are transpiring in your life. So on my website, when you order a personalized horoscope, it's popular, right? People do a year ahead. If you choose a year ahead starting on my birthday, so that's one of the choices in the form, the year ahead starting on my birthday incorporates this very technique, incorporates the solar return chart. So that's what we're going to be looking at with the class that takes place Saturday. And next week, it's going to be the major cycles of life. And then that will be it for the October series for now. So it's the major cycles of life. We're going to go from birth right to 90, right around there. We're going to go right into the late 80s and look at some of the major things that come up for people at different points in life, right around the same age. So there are certain things everybody goes through right around 7. Everybody goes through right around 2 years old. Everyone goes through right around 14, right? All these different things we're going to look at step by step and look at the different themes that define a certain age based on the cycles that we all go through at these different points in life, and how these encapsulate the lessons that we're learning. It really helps a lot, especially if you are just meeting somebody, right? And you can't exactly ask them for their time of birth and all their birth data and stuff. It does help just to, be able to say, hey, how old are you? That can go a really long way. It works better in certain circles than others, right? Sometimes it's not so appropriate. But you'd be surprised how willing people are to talk about themselves, and just knowing someone's age can go a really long way in helping you to understand where they may be in their sacred learning. So that's coming up next week, and this week is all about solar returns, and I look forward. You guys have been amazing. It's been so much fun interacting with you guys. I've absolutely loved it, and I can't wait to join you guys again very, very soon. Right around the day of this publication, I will be back online as part of continuing the October series. So to learn more, to register, to download past classes, you can go to synchronicity.university.com or my website, nadiyashah.com, and have a look, learn more, and we will learn that much more together at synchronicity.university.com. A very special burst of gratitude to my patrons out there on patreon.com/Nadiya Shah, who are supporting my next book, The Universe is Wise and Loving. So this is a project very near and dear to my heart. The book is set to publish late next year. Any amount is very gratefully appreciated. There are certain packages that you can choose for different rewards as a result. But again, regardless of what it is that you can contribute, or regardless of what it is that you desire to share among the little community that we've created there on Patreon, your support, your connection, it really does mean so much to me. So thank you so much to those of you who are out there, who are my current patrons. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go onto my Patreon page, patreon.com/Nadiya Shah. As I mentioned, I do really enjoy interacting with you guys online. I love your astrology questions. Please do keep them coming. Again, it's Facebook, Twitter, Google+, my website, nadiyashah.com, the YouTube comments, and of course, Instagram as well. Really looking forward to continuing to grow that page. It's been growing so fast. Love interacting with you guys. Sometimes I'm asked questions that are a little bit more personal, that have to do with your unique situation. If that's the case, please do consider a personalized horoscope where I can do just that. Look at your unique chart and answer your unique questions. And you can learn more about that on my website as well, nadiyashah.com. But of course, you being here is everything. You being here allows me to live my mission in the world, which is to affirm that the universe is wise and loving. And it was my recent live event that helped me to understand that much more deeply that that mission is being received by others. It is being affirmed in the world. And that has meant so, so very much to me. The universe is wise and loving. That really is it. That is the energy, the intention behind absolutely everything I share. It is to affirm this sacred truth in the world. And you being here allows me to do that. And my hope is with this video right now, in some way, it reminds you of this sacred truth. It reminds you to have hope, that you deserve to have hope, and fills your life with some inspiration. That really does mean everything to me. And to be reminded that the universe truly is wise and loving. Whatever is happening now, whatever will be, ultimately you can use to become a wiser person and to become a more loving person. And I think that that ultimately is really a big part of what we're here to do, to move towards greater love and greater wisdom as well. Well, thank you so much again for watching the introduction. How all this wonderful stuff speaks to you and your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. It's an exciting week all around. Well, let's say unpredictable, especially. And for you, this becomes that much more true, that much more felt, because we have Mars moving through the top of your sky, speaking with Uranus in your sign. So you are one of those signs who is very likely, one of those people most likely to get a surprise and seemingly out of nowhere. Now, the one thing I want to tell you, one advice I can tell you with this is if you have a boss, okay, be really nice if you can, if possible at all. Because this does suggest that things could change very quickly, passions could run very high, surprise feelings can come up very quickly as well, whether it is your feelings towards a boss, whether it is your boss themselves who decides to act a little quirky, all of that becomes possible under this energy. But there's another way that this energy can come forward, and that is with you realizing where you are in terms of achieving your goals, what you really want to do, and if where you are right now isn't matching with that, this particular energy can lend itself to a sudden awareness, which in turn lends itself to a change. And for some of you out there, I do think there's some people who are going to feel like they have to make a change. They got to make it right now. Likely will feel very impulsive, but there's something that's been building for a while. So unless this describes your situation, unless you've been floating around with a sense of dissatisfaction, then probably you won't be making huge dramatic statements like this. But this does suggest you seeing what you're doing and what you're achieving from a very different lens, realizing what you really need and making a change from that place. Again, if you have a boss, they may act a little bit erratic right about now. And ultimately, it's up to you to decide how much that is going to speak to you in your reality or not. Now, what is amazing about this particular week as well is that Venus is moving through fellow fire sign Sag, having interesting conversations all around with Neptune, yes, but also with Jupiter in your opposite sign. This is really nice energy, and particularly for you, I think there might be an energy here that makes you aware of the disappointments that have been, where you're now needing to forgive a past situation, but at the same time, a real willingness and an openness to do what you need to move yourself towards the love that you desire. This becomes especially true for those of you open to meeting someone new. A sky like this will have you taking a little bit of a chance, putting things into motion that you hope will move you in a positive direction, and also getting a little philosophical about the experiences you have had. For those of you in an established bond, this energy can be really nice for clearing the air It can be really nice for acknowledging wherever it is that if there has been a situation that's been less than ideal, this can really help to bring it to the surface so that you can understand your role. But also with this given energy, what I really love about this is that there's this sense now of knowing that there's things that you can do to move yourself towards a closer connection with this person that you love, with this person that you care about. And that sense of connection really can make all the difference in enforcing the love and supporting the love that you have. Hello, Fabulous Taurus. This week, Venus is doing a lot of interesting things in your sky. In particular, Venus is moving through a part of the sky that has to do with what we like to call other people's money, grants, loans, bursaries, insurance payments, tax returns, benefits you may qualify for. Well, Venus is speaking with Neptune, but also speaking with Jupiter. Now, the conversation with Jupiter I really like, because this does suggest that you understand how it is that you can create more prosperity for yourself through using your day well, possibly through work as well, whether it's putting in more hours or changing things a little bit, how you go about things. This particular energy does suggest that the work is there, the opportunities are there, and you're able to align them with creating greater prosperity for yourself. It is that conversation with Neptune that does take me a little bit a step back, if you will. I would really advise you not to invest in any ideas of a friend. So just be mindful of that. This particular energy can suggest that if you are making particularly risky investments, that their risk factor can be that much higher. So you want to just make sure that you're keeping a balanced perspective, particularly if you're putting a lot of money behind a certain endeavor. And also I would say this may not necessarily be the best time to get financial advice from a friend. Where it comes to matters of love, though, there's a lot of very sultry energy in the air right about now. And that also is thanks to that Venus moving through a part of the sky that on a love level is considered particularly consciously private, if you will. It has to do with secrets that you hold consciously. It also has to do with also really moving experiences that have the ability to transform you, that can facilitate a rebirth. And this absolutely could be a time when you meet somebody, the longevity factor, a little bit up in the air, but a brief interaction, a brief moment alone can form the beginning of very powerful change within you and your understanding of love. If you're in an established bond, I would just really be mindful of mixing friends and love. Not that you would necessarily be inclined to, but this may be a time to consider where your priorities are. And if you're able to do that, then you will find that bond feeling that much stronger. Hello, Fabulous Gemini. This week we've got Venus moving through your opposite sign, speaking with Neptune, speaking with Jupiter. This is some really interesting energy. Now, this can play out in terms of your career, particularly business alliances you may hold. That's where this energy can get a little tricky. I would advise you to be a little bit mindful about your own feelings around someone that you've aligned with for the purpose of your success. This can be a time when it feels uncertain how much this person is helping you. This can be also a time when it starts to feel like your feelings around this person are changing, ultimately for your better, ultimately for your empowerment, absolutely. But just keep that in mind. Now, I do want to say very, very unlikely, okay? But a small percentage of you out there, whether it's conscious or not, there can be a little bit of, whether it's lack of details, but also with this energy, I mean, I think of it as possible not honesty can happen with this energy as well. Your history with this person will tell you a whole lot, but this may be a time when you want to consider what has been shown to you, what has been proven to you. This may be a time when you want to consider how much this particular bond is working. And you'd be surprised how far a conversation can go. A simple conversation can go in helping you to understand what's working and what's not, to helping you to get clarity, the clarity that you need. Also, because Venus is going to be speaking in harmony with Jupiter. Now, I love this for love. I love this for you where it comes to love. This does suggest romance energy is very much at the forefront, and this is a really good time to get your flirt on. So if you are somebody open to meeting someone new, go forth and flirt and enjoy. Have fun, enjoy your life, and in that, it's very possible a connection is made, and very likely could be a connection with real long-term potential. If you are in an established bond, this is energy that brings together partnership and play. So make sure that you're carving out that time, particularly early in the week, to do something fun with this person that you love. As we move later into the week, we are going to have Mars right now moving through a part of the sky that has to do with spouse's money, making an interesting conversation with Uranus. And so that tells me that there may be some surprises in store where it comes to the money that your partner is bringing in, and also some surprises where it comes to how it is that your partner may want to make more money as well. Hello, Fabulous Cancer. This week it is an exciting one. We've got Mars moving through your opposite sign and speaking with Uranus. My goodness, this can make love go in all kinds of interesting directions and can bring all kinds of surprises in love. Plans may not go as you hope, as you anticipate, and yet there is a whole lot of potential here for things to go remarkably well and remarkably allowing you to feel a sense of options, allowing you to feel a sense of change and of freedom. So if you're in an established bond, this can play out in particularly interesting ways. It could be that your partner wants to make a decision or wants to go in directions that surprise you, that take you a little bit off guard. This could also be occurrences taking place with your spouse that ask you to be present, ask you for your attention. This can play out in business partnerships as well, absolutely. And a business partnership right now, some very surprising information can come forward and very quickly that causes a change in that alliance. Now, that change may be one that makes you realize where it is that a refinement is in order, but that change could also be realizing that you want to go in a different direction. That could very well happen with surprising energy like this. Now, if you are open to meeting someone new, we do have Venus right now moving through a part of the sky for you that has to do with the workplace. I would be mindful, particularly early in the week, of any workplace romances or thinking that a workplace romance is in the works. It looks like perceptions may not necessarily be very accurate. And also, like I said, a whole lot of this week, any kind of romantic plans, romantic surprises, things that you're trying to make happen, especially on the love or partnership department, could really go in very unexpected directions. And so my advice would be, if you focus more on the work and the foundation of the work that you are doing, you will move yourself in a position of strength. And that ultimately is where a lot of your power is going to lie this week. Do your work well and let that be enough for now. And if love is meant to blossom, then that will happen in the fullness of time. Hello, Fabulous Leo. This week, the Sun and Mercury are meeting in the sky. This tends to be a really good time for you because it tends to be a time when you're more clear. You're more clear on who you are, what you want. You're more clear on what's worth giving your energy to, what's worth paying attention to. All of that becomes possible under a sky like this. Now, what's pretty interesting as I look at this as well is that this energy is happening at home base. So this can be a really good time to have a conversation with a person from your family of origin, possibly with a parent. It's also a really good time to get clarity into a situation with one of these people. Now, also with this energy, there tends to be a very home-related element to this energy. And so spending time at home, allowing yourself to have some time to yourself, these really can be power places that help you to gain that clarity that much easier. Now, where it comes to love, Venus right now is in a super supportive position for you, moving through a part of the sky that has to do with flirtation, it has to do with romance and love. So this is a really good energy if you're open to meeting someone new. Just be mindful because it does look like, at least in the early part of the week, there might be a little bit of, thinking that you're flirting and that you're onto something, and then it's like oh, okay, that's not what I expected it to be. Some of that may play out here, but really it is about becoming aware that you can actually put yourself out there, that you can actually flirt. That really is the gift here. That really is the magic here. And actually, if you're open to meeting someone new, the online environment might not be a bad place to try, especially as we move towards the middle of the week. If you're in an established bond, with this energy, really, talking is key. Talking is key with this energy. So make sure those lines of communication are open, are flowing. Ultimately, you'll be really glad for it. And ultimately, it is those very lines of communication that are going to allow you to have an understanding, to have a perception, going to allow you to feel that the love that you have is a love that is growing that much stronger. Hello, Fabulous Virgo. This week, your ruling planet Mercury will meet the sun in the sky, and this meeting in particular will be especially meaningful to you. What this does suggest is a new perspective, a new clarity, a new way of looking at things, thanks to a sibling, a cousin, or a neighbor. So these are the kind of people, if they're stopping you, if they want to have a conversation, if they're calling you, you may want to take that moment to actually have that conversation. You'll probably be really grateful for it. You'll probably see things from a very different perspective thanks to one of these very types of people in your life. And this can benefit many different areas of life at that. What I also really like about what's happening this week is that we are going to have some really beautiful energy taking place at the base of your chart. So it is on home base, and it is by considering your past that some of the more important lessons in love you're going to understand right now. There really is not a whole lot of point for thinking about the distant past, thinking about what was, what ifs, right? That's what you really want to avoid in the early part of the week, because it seems to be, it seems to be such an illusion. And some of you might be a little bit tempted to dive into that little bit of a fantasy, but really it just seems like it's a lot of fantasy. The reality very likely is very disconnected from what you may be imagining. Now, as we move forward into the middle of the week, what's really great is that the energy that starts to take over on the love sense is one that has to do with understanding how you are richer thanks to the past that you have, thanks to the love that you've had in the past, and the love that is there for you now. So there is this sense of understanding and having a higher sense of self-value as you consider what has been and where you are now. And this especially can play out for those of you who are in an established bond and seeing what has transpired differently with much more loving eyes and a much more loving perspective at that. One thing I do want you to be mindful of, though, is that we do have Mars moving through a part of the sky for you that has to do with flirtation, and it is speaking with Uranus. Now, this is a conversation very much of surprise, and so just be mindful where it comes to flirting, particularly if you're open to meeting someone new. Things can go in a very different direction than you thought very, very quickly. People may downright surprise you with this energy. Not the best time for a romantic declaration. But with this particular energy, one thing is for sure, if you have had some feelings for somebody, they are going to start to become so obvious to you. You will start to become more aware of them. If someone else has had feelings for you, they could suddenly come out into the open as well. Of course, it's always up to you to decide what it is that you want to do as occurrences take place. But one thing that certainly can give you power is remembering that sense of rootedness, remembering how far you have come in matters of heart, and how much more learning, thankfully, how much more learning and lessons in love there are yet to approach. Hello, Fabulous Libra. This week, Mars and Uranus are making a very interesting conversation, and this is going to speak to some really interesting events. I would even say a little bit unpredictable, quite unpredictable events where it comes to love, partnerships, and family. And if you put them together, that much more can transpire with this energy. I will say this, if you are a person who is in a situation, and I hope this isn't the case, I always do believe we gotta get along, we gotta love each other, right? I'm a really big proponent of that. I think it's evident in my work. And especially love the people we love. I think that's a really important part of understanding all relationships, right? And of what love is. Love is acceptance. That's a big part of what love is about. And that includes accepting the people you love. Now, with this particular energy, that might be a little bit harder to do. So if you know that you are in a situation where you're with somebody, you love this person, it's amazing, but there might be other people in family who maybe are not as enthusiastic as you are just yet, it's okay to say you're going to create a little bit of distance, right? Especially with a sky like this, and especially as we move later into the week. It's okay to say, I'm going to hold this separate, sacred space for me and this person I love, and have that be okay. There are times when you have to do that. There are certain life paths that do involve having to do that from time to time. Not everybody does. That's amazing if you don't. But if that should be the case, this would be a good time to keep that space kind of separate. I would also say this as I look at this, partnerships with this energy, you want to keep them very much in focus, but this can be a time when family just influences partnerships in ways that maybe are not very desirable. So where you can, keep it separate, no problem. If you can't really avoid it, if it's the kind of situation where it happens very spontaneously, very possible, or you just have to be somewhere with your partner, possible as well, then what you want to do is you want to root this energy, you want to ground this energy in a different way, and you ground it through conversation. You ground it through mind connections. The reason I say that is because we have, with a sky like this, some interesting things taking place. And with Mars and Uranus speaking, that's all the drama that can come up, okay? Or the unexpected reactions that can come up. But it is Venus speaking to Jupiter in your sign that gives you the right words, that gives you the right approach, that allows you to find those right persuasive ways of communicating that make a big difference, in fact, make all the difference. Now, this might not necessarily be the case. It may only apply to a very small percentage of you out there, but remember, your power this week is in having the right words at the right time and speaking them beautifully. So tap into that, and all else becomes that much easier to navigate. Now, this particular energy can also play out in a business partnership as well. Some unexpected feelings or surprise feelings at the very least could transpire. And especially if you have a home-based business, but you're aligned with someone else, that's where you want to watch some of this energy and be a little bit mindful. But for all that, you've got that super lucky energy of Venus speaking with Jupiter in your chart, which can smooth over just about anything and gives you the right measure of self-value, of self-love to make decisions that you can feel good about. Now, when I look at elsewhere in the sky, we've got some interesting things transpiring as well. Particularly, I think about financial talks that are taking place. And this is thanks to Mercury and the Sun meeting. Now, this is all about ideas, conversations, perceptions. And so there's a sense here that you've got your mind on your money. And so you want to focus on that and think about ways to create more prosperity, brainstorm ways to create more prosperity for yourself. It really could go a long way with some of the ideas you come up with right now. You'll be very much thinking in new ways and in very creative ways right about now, especially where it comes to increasing an overall sense of prosperity, or even just on a practical level, making more money can be part of this energy as well. Now, if you're open to meeting someone new, this energy, because I've spoken quite a bit about it, established partnerships, but if you're open to meeting someone new, it's all about the conversation, talking. I would even say an online connection right about now could go especially sweetly. Hello, Fabulous Scorpio. This week we have the Sun and Mercury meeting in your sign. This gives you that measure of perspective, of mental clarity, and of understanding that might elude some others, especially if other people are being particularly emotional around you, which is possible with a sky like this. It's you that's going to be connected to an energy that is a lot more rational, and therefore be able to help people understand in a way that calms a lot of the emotion and brings the energy more to a sense of a rational understanding. Now this week as well, we do have Venus moving through a part of the sky for you that has to do with income. It has to do with money that's coming in regularly, and it has to do with spending as well. I would really be mindful of your spending in the early part of the week, and looking more instead towards some bigger picture stuff, okay? Because as I look at the sky, it's very possible that something that seems fun, something that seems like something you really want to do, something you think is very much what your heart wants, could end up really asking for a lot of your resources in ways that may not necessarily balance out in terms of what you're hoping to get in return. And so if that should be the case, it's playing itself out in that way, just allow yourself to find that pace, allow yourself to find that right balance. And ultimately, the amazing thing is trusting your situation, trust your circumstances. Allow that to lead you to whatever it is that you need to understand in terms of creating more prosperity for yourself, but also in terms of what you're spending money on as well. And if it seems like something really needs to happen and you really got to put this money behind it, but you really don't have it, it doesn't mean that you won't have it tomorrow or you won't have it a week from now, but it does mean to trust this moment of your life and know that the resources will come as you need them. And maybe right now it's okay. Whatever that may be. Now that's going to be very relative. It's only going to apply to a small percentage of you out there, but it's very relative. And so how one person feels when they think about $100 is how another person feels when they think about $100,000. So it really is in light of your unique circumstances, and to take that into consideration as you are considering some kind of splurge that may be possible in the early part of the week. That splurge might not reap the kind of returns that you're hoping for, but being smart about your money really can go a long way. Big picture stuff, thinking about your ultimate aims, and also think about what you're preparing for and what you're preparing to launch. Investing your time, your energy in that can also go a really long way as well. Now, where it comes to matters of love, I would watch and I would advise you that fun, right? Wanting to splurge on something fun, something the heart really wants to do. It may have to do with a date. It may have to do with wanting to make a really good impression. That's where you want to also be careful with this. As I've said before, if you go out with somebody, it's the second date, it's the third date, and they hit you up for a big loan or they hit you up for a lot of money, that should be a little signal to you. That should be like, oh, okay. That should be an exit point for you. So you want to be mindful of that, but the sky like this, something like that is possible, I gotta say. The other thing I would also say with this energy is that sometimes flirtations, it isn't always what you think. And people flirt for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes people are just being friendly. Sometimes they just want to talk. And so allow it to be whatever it needs to be, because at the moment you bring in expectation, it's the moment it can go. And you're kind of setting yourself up instead of being in the moment and enjoying the moment. So that's going to be an important part of this week as well. But for all of that, you've got this beautiful energy that's asking you to believe that love is possible. That's what you want to nurture, and to believe in yourself and to believe in your life. If you're in an established bond, really the quietest moments are the most profound moments, are the most beautiful moments. Those very quiet moments that you share very much behind the scenes, that is where love truly takes root. And you've got a real opportunity now to ensure that that root grows that much stronger. Hello, Fabulous Sagittarius. It is an exciting week. Lots of stuff is happening in the sky right now. For you, there's a couple of areas I really want you to focus on. Now, one is love. You've got Venus moving through your sign. Normally, this would be awesome, and it is awesome, okay? I don't want to say it's not. It absolutely is. But as we move in the early part of the week into the middle, we've got Venus having an interesting conversation with Neptune before making a harmonious contact with Jupiter. So I want you to be a little mindful of this early in the week, and as we move towards the middle of the week. Not a good time to do any kind of major things to like change your appearance or invest in any kind of plastic surgery or, to something that you hope will beautify you. You really don't want to do that in the early part of the week, because this particular sky does suggest that the result you get, what comes out of that, is going to be very different than what you had expected and what you had hoped. And so it's a good idea with energy like this to just put it off a little bit. If all of a sudden you feel this very strong urge to dramatically change your hairstyle to something that you've never had before and you've always wanted to do, maybe, or maybe you never even wanted to do it, but you saw it on somebody and now you really want to do it, hold on a little bit. Just hold on a couple of days. I would really like to see you have a better sky so that you love what you see, and that actually is coming up. In fact, as we get into next week, and especially as we move forward into next week, you're coming up to a much better sky in order to really like the results that you get. And so just hold off just a few days if you can. And, you know, big investments on a whole new wardrobe, that as well, you want to hold off a little bit. But again, it really is only for a few days. This particular energy also can have you seeing a love situation not accurately. So either it can go all the way where you're seeing something super romantic and feeling very carried away by that, or you're really not realizing that love is staring you in the face. So that can happen with this particular sky. Again, just give it a few days, all will be well. All will find its right balance. If you're in an established bond, make sure you're being really patient with the person that you love. I think there's a real motivation to strengthen that bond. Communication, and particularly being a friend to this person that you love, can go a really long way right about now. But again, there is that possibility of maybe taking things in a whole other heightened direction. And I would also say, especially if you live with this person or you're wanting to move into a new place with this person, that is where it becomes that much more possible of things not being seen clearly, maybe the resources you need not being clearly realized. And so just give yourself a little bit of time, days, and things can go in a much more empowering direction. Also this week, though, we are going to have the financial part of it that I want to ask you, or at least point out to you. Mars is going to be in a financial part of the sky for you right now, and is going to speak to Uranus. And Uranus is in a part of the sky that has to do with children. It has to do with what the heart wants. It can have to do with also, in a certain respect, dating as well. Now, this is an energy that suggests a lot of unexpectedness transpiring, surprise energy. So it could be very much by surprise that there is an expense related to your child, where that is the case, that comes forward, possible with a sky like this. Also possible with a sky like this, that in a very quick moment, there is a need to spend money. It may be for something that you really, 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 really want, maybe something that isn't so much about what you really want. But all of that is possible with this. Now, at the same time, this particular energy can be really good if you want to take what you're passionate about and align it with your source of income. You'll have that sense of creativity, that sense of an expansion of perception that will allow you to be open to understanding just how it is that you're going to bring those two together for your success. Hello, Fabulous Capricorn. This week we've got Mars in your sign reaching out to Uranus. I mean, talk about impulsive energy. Talk about needing to make a change, feeling like things must change and they must change right now. Well, that particular energy is going to be very heightened for you this week. In fact, you're building towards it as the week moves forward. Ultimately, what you do with it, completely up to you. But I think there's going to be at least one path that feels remarkably irresistible for you to pursue. Now, this may very well work out in terms of what's happening on a level of your work and who you know it is that you need to be, changes you know it is that you're ready to make. This can also, though, work out when it comes to matters of attraction, of course, as well. Not necessarily love. Love and attraction, two different things, okay? So when I say love, love has to do with partnership. It has to do with romance and romantic feelings. That's one thing. There might be some of that as well, but most likely this energy is a very passionate energy. It's a life energy. It's a desire energy. And so if you are feeling very propelled towards somebody, this energy can have you, seeing somebody and just feeling an irresistible attraction towards them. And what you do as a result may surprise you. This energy can also be, like I said, this week is one where the desire for change in at least one key area of life is going to be very strong. Now, I do think when you have Mars moving through your sign, part of the big lesson tends to be understanding where you have power and where you don't. It tends to be having that clarity or having that understanding of where it is that you can work on your behalf to improve your circumstances, and where it is that maybe you don't have as much power or not right now, and you can surrender and trust that it will work out in the fullness of time. With this particular energy, a lot of those lessons may come together very quickly and in a very quick instant at that. But of course, you will find your power within that and take action from that place. But remember, there's a lot of very impulsive energy with this. And also remember that as we move towards the later part of the week, while you are driving or again, operating heavy machinery, as I said in the introduction, you want to remember that there may be that element, there may be that part of this that has to do with, just needing to pay attention to some details, because really your impulses can take you in a whole other direction, and that might work out for the better. But maybe it's always good to temper that a little bit with some rational decision making. And that energy is going to be particularly strong right about now. And especially if you're connecting with friends and in friendships, they really can add that element of helping you to see things from a perspective that may be less passion driven, right? Less immediacy, and helping you to see things with a little bit of distance, a little bit of healthy detachment at that. For those of you in an established bond, Venus in the sign just before yours, speaking with Jupiter, says that you're making some big plans together, and there's a real motivation now to improve your circumstances, and particularly your joint circumstances at that. If you are in an established bond, that is where you certainly can find a very quiet solace in what otherwise could end up being a very active, very surprising week. Hello, Fabulous Aquarius. This week we've got your modern ruling planet Uranus speaking with Mars in the sign just before yours. I mean, there's a lot that is stirring underneath. There's a lot that's going on within you now, and it may be that a very casual conversation just sort of really pushes your buttons in a way. It may not be obvious right on the surface, but something inside of you may feel a little lit up, if you will, through what otherwise on the surface would seem very casual. Now, this can also play out where it comes to, particularly where it comes to interactions with siblings, cousins, and neighbors. So those are some interactions you do want to watch. If you have a conversation on the surface, it seems really nice, but something about it bugs you, you want to sit with that. You want to listen to that, because it is very possible that there is some part of you, whether it is a vulnerability, whether it is a fear, whether it is intuition, very possible as well. One part of you there is being touched on, is being stirred in some way. And so you being able to at least acknowledge that, or at least give yourself the time to understand what's going on, could actually take you a really long way forward in tapping into your own power and your own understanding of the best action that you are to take. Now, this particular energy can also be a very surprising turn of events, particularly where it comes to any kind of negotiation, any kind of agreement you're hoping to seal, that you're hoping to make. And even in any kind of if you're trying to nail something down, you're trying to get a contract signed, you're trying to even have a conversation, right? Where you're hoping that there's some back and forth, things can really go in all kinds of directions. So I would just be mindful about signing any contracts this week. Next week, we have a lot more positive energy that seems like there's a sweetness and a surprising sweetness to the energy that especially grows as we move into next week, and you'll feel even beyond that as well. So if you can, it may be a good idea to calm some of that. Now, the one area where there is a lot of positive energy and where friends can really come through for you is where it has to do with long distance travel, and where it has to do with higher education as well, even legal matters as well. Friends can really help you out a whole lot where it comes to any of these particular areas. Now, when it comes to matters of love, friend energy, love energy is all mixing together right about now. Now, you want to be careful of this because it's very possible that things get a little carried away, very imaginative, and the reality not necessarily matching that. It is possible with this that a friend tries to get some money from you. I would be very cautious with that. I wouldn't go in that direction. But for all that, we also have this energy where there's a desire to know more, to learn more, to be more, coming together with the desire to really know another person more deeply. This might be somebody new or somebody who's a friend that you already have that connection with. And it's also possible this is with that person that you love. I always like to say that air signs fall in love with their best friend. And if you're in an established bond, this is the kind of week that can have you feeling that you truly are with your genuine companion. Hello, fabulous Pisces. It is an exciting week. Now, for you in particular, Neptune in your sign is going to be speaking with Venus. And so I want you to watch this and I want you to be really gentle with yourself. As I look at what's transpiring in the first days of the week, it does look like there might be a part of you that may be seeing some achievement, some accomplishment, some goal that you're trying to reach for. You may not be seeing it as optimistically as you deserve to. And so there might be this sense of, and I don't want to say it, but there's almost like some energy here that has to do with disappointment. Maybe a little bit of pessimism is possible with this energy as well. So it is important to, of course, do your best, surrender the rest, but know that you have blessings right now where it comes to advancing your life in any direction you want, whether that's career, whether that's in understanding your life purpose, or whether that's moving you in a position of advancement. You've got lots of cosmic support. You've got some cosmic support now, certainly, that brings an element of luck to this area of life. And you add to this, we've got this really beautiful energy where it comes to bringing together, having the resources you need to achieve something that is meaningful to you. So that's where you want to tap in. I would be very mindful if you start feeling a little down, if you start feeling, I wonder if I could do it, or if it looks like some advancement or promotion that you want might not be readily available to you. Don't worry, just take a moment and very quickly you'll start to realize where there are actually a whole lot of options available to you, especially where it comes to applying for any kind of resources that you might want to tap into. Grants, loans, bursaries, insurance payments, tax returns, benefits, all of that very more easily accessible to you right now. And this is part of Jupiter, right? Over the course of this coming year, you're going to feel the blessings of this energy. You've got some proactive energy this week to tap into that a little bit more consciously. Now, where it comes to matters of heart, matters of love, the ruler of your opposite sign is meeting the sun this week in super compatible water sign, Scorpio. So this can be really nice if you're in an established bond. This can suggest making plans together, wanting to take on some adventure together, thinking about where you could go, all the things that you could do, all the things that you could see. So there's that real sense with this particular energy taking place. If you are open to meeting someone new, I would say absolutely. If you are looking for something long-term, because this is the kind of energy that can be very long-term oriented. If that's what you are particularly interested in, then I would set your sight a little bit more abroad and I would consider connecting with people like very different than you have known before. Well, thank you so much to all signs out there. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.